Legends of Myth. Legendary Pokemon are some of the rarest species in the whole of Pokemon universe. Not all Pokemon can achieve the heights of the most powerful or elusive, but some rise above the rest as legends. What's good, Chaotic Nation? It's your boy Chaos here, and today we're going to take a look at 5 Pokemon that I would make legendary. Now, I'm not saying that the franchise needs to make more legendary Pokemon, but I think these ones could have been legendary if Game Freak decided that they wanted to design them as legendary Pokemon from their beginnings. These Pokemon meet some kind of lore, or are based off of some kind of rare sighting in the real world, or they just meet the base stat total requirements for being a legendary. I also will be including a new base stat total for any entry that does not meet the 600 base stat total level. And with all that being said, sit back and relax as we enter the world of Pokemon. Number 5, Wishy Wash. This Pokemon meets the requirements of a legendary Pokemon being a 620 base stat total Pokemon, but it has a flaw. At low HP, this Pokemon loses its schooling form and drops to a base stat total of 175. An easy way to increase the legendary status of this Pokemon would to buff the speed stat of the basic form to plus 100, so that it has a chance to outspeed and potentially spread hazards on your opponent's team. I also would change the ability to match that of Power Construct, which would make Wishy Washy's school at 50% HP or less. This matches its Dex entry, which reads from Pokemon Sun. When in trouble, its eyes moisten and begin to shine. The shining light attracts its comrades and they stand together against enemies. It would make more sense that this Pokemon would call in its allies later in a match than rather at the beginning of a battle. Maybe other stats would need to be fixed too to make this thing last longer, such as HP or defenses, just as a way for this to stick around for a little bit of time. Number 4, Slacking or Slaking. Again, this Pokemon meets the requirement of a 600 plus base stat total. Slacking is very powerful as a Pokemon and is truly worthy of this legendary status. However, its ability really makes it hard to use. I feel like this Pokemon could use the Unnerve ability. I would say give it Intimidate, but that might make it just a little too overpowered. Another ability could be the traditional legendary ability in Pressure, which would work really well for this Pokemon. And as someone who dislikes legendary evolutionary lines, I think Slack Off and Vigor Off would be fine to stay in the games, but they would just be a 2-stage evolutionary line instead of including Slacking at the end. Number 3 is Zork. Zork is a really interesting entry. It's very unique in its ability and its sneaky battle tactics, which would make it a really cool and great legendary Pokemon. And to make this Pokemon meet the 600 base stat total, I would add 20 points to HP, defense, and special defense, and also increase the attack, special attack, and speed by 10 points. This would make Zork a bit more defensive while not overpowering its offenses. The stats also need to be similar to other Pokemon since the illusion ability it has allows it to transform into other Pokemon. Zork also has played a major part in a Pokemon movie, which makes it even more of a candidate to be a legendary Pokemon. I also want to say here that Lucario does not fit this list since it is used quite commonly across the Pokemon world and thus could never be a legendary Pokemon. Number 2, Lapras. I don't know how the Loch Ness Monster Pokemon was not made legendary. This creature is something of Scottish myth and is a myth, so it meets the legendary requirements. And even in many games, including Lapras' native region of Kanto, excluding Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, Lapras can only be attained by receiving a gift from an NPC. Thus, its rarity also meets the legendary requirement. To help Lapras meet the base stat total requirement of 600, I would include a 30-point buff to defense and special defense and add 5 points to special attack. I feel like this would make the creature more defensive and be closer to the more peaceful nature of the recorded Nessie. Now, before we get to my top pick, we have an honorable mention worth noting. Arcanine. Arcanine was originally made to be part of the legendary Kanto trio. However, the idea was scrapped later on, most likely due to the creation of Entei. However, Arcanine is still classified as the Legendary Pokémon, making this thing seem like it should fit in this classification. This change would remove Growlithe from the dex, as it most likely cannot stand by itself unless you give it an evolution. And to make Arcanine meet the base stat total of 600, simply add 10 points to each of its stats to do enough to meet the standard and also to keep Arcanine balanced. Finally, we've reached number 1, which is Volcarona. Unnovan myths claim that this Pokemon once acted as the sun after a volcanic eruption where ash covered the sky. Something with that much power, most likely, should be a legendary. Again, Larvesta would no longer exist, but it just hinders the status that Volcarona really truly deserves. To make the base stat requirement meet 600, I would add 30 points to special attack and 20 points to HP. As something able to replace the sun, it must have immense firepower. Pardon the pun. This would mean that the stat that would increase fire, aka special attack, would be super high. HP also gets increased for the endurance of keeping the sun up through the ash settling. I also would change Volcarona's typing to fire and bug instead of bug and fire, since it is more of a fire Pokemon than a bug Pokemon according to this myth. Well, that's my list of what should be legendary Pokemon. Let me know in the comments what Pokemon you think should be made legendary. And note that this does not mean that you need to buff your favorite Pokemon, but rather find a Pokemon that you think seems like it's a legendary Pokemon to you, and then change it that way. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and hit that subscribe button to show your support, and stick around for my list of which 5 legendary Pokemon I would remove. That will be coming out next week. Check out the description for links to my social media accounts and for Invisible Corporations for more ways to stay connected to this channel. That's all I have for you today, so thank you for watching. I hope you did enjoy, and until next time, my name is Chaos, and I'm signing off. Stay safe, and as always, burn it up.